So this is actually a really good question. And I think that really, rather than saying transparency is being more important to our clients, I think it's actually transparency and control, because the two of those are synonymous, all right, or should be. Sadly, in a lot of cases, you have transparency, but you lack control. And this is where issues happen. But what we've been finding is that the regulations, the regulators, both externally and internally in the terms of policymakers within organizations, are becoming ever more sensitive or attuned to what happens within organizations when you don't have transparency and control. And when does this really present itself? So as organizations innovate, as they start into new businesses or they actually embrace new technologies, they find that that brings with it an inherent level of benefit in terms of revenue growth, new customer attraction, etc. The problem comes when you have in the subsequent downstream operational controls a lack of connection, right, and a lack of integration with that level of innovation and that new business, those new business initiatives. So what we've really been finding is that those goals are all the more sensitive and have to be all the more closely aligned. Now, this is further endorsed by the fact that we as organizations have actually succeeded in winning for the second consecutive year, the best operations and back office solutions. So this is very much indicative of what the industry is seeing as what Smartstream bring to the overall operational ecosystem, not only within banks, but across the entire operational financial system. So this is something that we're really, really proud of from the point of view of driving growth, driving control, driving revenue protection, but also managing the automation that's associated with that to drive down the underlying costs, to drive down the breaches. All right. And we see that as being really pivotal to where the industry is going to facilitate revenue growth, to facilitate competitive positioning versus peers and versus new emerging participants in the marketplace. So when we look at the challenge around increasing automation, one of the first questions you have to ask is why, and what are we going to drive from it? And are you thinking about this in an ex post or an ex ante fashion? All right, as in, are we looking at it after we've encountered the problem, or do we actually want to try and facilitate automation before we embark, or as part of a change initiative aligning with a new target operating model? And we found that a lot of organizations were doing that in an ex post. They were embarking on new initiatives, new market initiatives, either looking at new market demographics, new service offerings, new geographic regions, new technology initiatives, and then they were bringing the automation in. That has changed. Now organizations are saying, as part of our growth, innovation, diversification agenda, how do we engineer improvements into that from an operational perspective? Because it's very hard for you to drive a process and then add automation, all right, and add operational excellence after the fact. Because typically what's happened is you've engineered in some inherent operational friction. We have found that now organizations are saying, as part of this new target operating model, whatever it may be, revenue growth, control, compliance, cost reduction, whatever, they see automation and the sheer growth of volume as being the only way to solve this, because they recognize that if you're going to embark on a digital payments initiative or a major digitization agenda, how do you take advantage of technologies to drive automation? And we're finding that through our AI initiatives, which are very much pivotal to the growth that organizations are seeing in the volume of data they're processing, the speed with which that's being processed, and the only way in which you can actually keep abreast of that in terms of delivering control, delivering operational best practice, protecting revenue, protecting profitability, and protecting yourself from operational breaches is through the use of automation. And one of the key assets within that automation is the use of innovative technologies such as AI, as we've delivered through Smartstream Air. Absolutely. Well, firstly, it's not a policy. I would know about it if it were a policy, and it's an interesting perception, and I'm really glad that you brought it up. I work directly with the partnership team within the company. We have a global partnership ecosystem, so we actually have a policy of working with partners. What we have found is that the partnership ecosystem is changing. And what do I mean by that? We typically now are finding that the partnership ecosystem are looking at ways in which they can drive improvements, very much aligned to our core values. How can they deliver outcomes rather than outputs? And there's a huge change in that alignment across the SI and the advisory community. So rather than us not having a partnership program, what we're finding now is that the partnership program is even more relevant, and we are more closely aligned with our partners to be able to deliver real monetizable outcomes for the industry at large, not only across the financial services, but across the non-financial services, insurance, corporates, fintech, etc. So it's very interesting that you've raised this topic, because I won't say it's wrong, but it's definitely misaligned with what's happening from me as global head of product, and I work directly with the partnership team to onboard. And we've driven a huge amount of investment in our partnership portal, partnership enablement, and through our learning and development, through our learning management system, to build an entire partnership education, onboarding, and certification program. So we see that as being absolutely crucial. Now let's look at the second part of your question, which is around this keeping innovations in-house. So one of the challenges that we found across the financial services sector is that a lot of market participants have got innovation programs in flight. They do a huge amount around AI, but they are, for want of a better word, they are insular. They are siloed in the way in which they do things. So they will develop a use case. They will use AI technologies, for example, right, and other innovative technologies to solve that use case. And then the problem comes when they try to bring that into the operational control ecosystem. And that's where the failures happen. So what we have done is we've upended that. We've looked at the operational outcome and said, how can we deliver better operational outcomes using innovative technologies? And that is best served through our Smartstream Innovation Lab, led by Andy Berner. That is best used because we then mobilize entire teams internally to look at how do we bring that technology into our reconciliations premium solution? How do we deliver those new innovative technologies in our Aurora solution for digital payments control or for advanced account control to drive innovation? How do we deliver that into our cash and liquidity solution? How do we deliver it into our corporate actions and our collateral solutions? So we really are very focused on the fact that innovative technologies are perfectly fine, but the outcome and the real value can only be realized when you incorporate that into an advanced, rich control infrastructure. And that's why we bring everything and we do all of that innovation in-house. The future for AI, this is a very interesting one. I think that the opportunity for use cases is borderline infinite. You hear a lot of people talking about RPA. RPA is, broadly speaking, rules-based rather than really using AI. So I think that there's a real incredible opportunity to take AI technologies to employ and deploy those models to provide real operational improvements. Now, when you look at where the industry is going, there's a massive growth in the digital payments world. There's a massive growth in the amount of data as part of the digitization or the digitalization initiative. So one of the beautiful things about AI is that it thrives on data, and its relevance is only realized when you've got vast quantities of data that you need to be able to have adaptive models to be able to drive operational outcomes. So yes, there's a huge potential right across the entire ecosystem from the point of view of knowledge of customer behavior, knowledge of customer, knowledge of market behavior, being able to feed that into your operational controls, being able to feed it into your fraud and surveillance, etc. However, one of the biggest challenges that organizations have when you talk about the potential risks or challenges is how do you bring that into your operational control systems in a format that's recognizable, consumable, and auditable? And therein lies the challenge, all right? And this is very much why we drove our Smartstream Affinity offering, because it makes it possible for users, auditors, typical operational users, to be able to interrogate the outcome, to be able to say, why did my AI model suggest that outcome? So this is really the key to the success of AI models, being able to understand the why. And then you can actually deliver the deterministic element that is required by audit and regulators alike.